Connsensys meaning connecting smart sensor systems for the food industry. So this project has originated from our S3P consortium, Smart Sensors for Agri-Food. This is a smart specialization platform which has been set up in April 2017. The main goal of this platform was setting up smart and resilient European agri-food systems. On the map here, you see the regions that are involved in this smart specialization platform, and it is coordinated by Flanders. Compared to other smart specialization platforms, this Smart Sensors for Agri-Food is a bit different in the way that the members of this platform are cluster organizations and not the regions themselves. So we are clusters which are partnering together with a backup of their regions. The main goal was, well, inspire food companies, introduce new technologies and smart sensors, and in the end, set up a collaboration between the food sector and the technology providers. Important to this platform is that our strategy is focusing on setting up a network of living labs. From this platform, we decided with 8 partners to go for a Connsensys project, to go for this COSME project. This was Connsensys. You see that we're coming from 5 different countries, and the partnership of the project consisted out of clusters from the agri-food sector, the electronics sector, and the ICT sector. But as well, we had 2 research organizations, one coming from the food focus and another one coming from the technology focus. So the project in total had a budget of 466,000 euros. What are the objectives of Connsensys? Well, the main objective is setting up a long-term collaboration strategy and partnership between all the partners of the Smart Specialization platform. How do you want to do that? Well, in Connsensys, we focus on setting up this European network of living labs for the implementation of smart sensor systems in the agri-food sector. We had 3 main points to work on. The main point was setting up this joint cluster partnership strategy and the implementation roadmap. The second point was then establishing this interregional platform and promotion of interregional cooperation. And for this, we focused on this interregional network of living labs. I will come back to each of this later on. And the third and the last focus point of the project was to give some examples for industry. So we identified, demonstrated some business cases where smart sensor systems were applied for the food sector. Towards the achievements of the project, well, we started in November 2018 with Connsensys, which is a COSME project. Keeping in the back of our mind, this is a strategic development of this smart sensors for agri-food platform. The duration of the project was 2 years, or is 2 years. So by the end of this month, which is basically on this Saturday, we will finish. And during the 2 years, we had different milestones we reached and several actions who take place. But an important thing to mention is that in May 2019, with the partnership of Smart Sensors for Agri-Food, we were lucky to win another project, which was called the S3 Food project. S3 Food project is an InnoSup project, and this InnoSup is focusing on direct SME support. So again, in the long run, this project is focusing on strengthening the Smart Sensors for Agri-Food network. It's a project of 3 years, and at least 3.75 million euros direct funding towards SMEs is available. This project is still running. You see the website below. There are 4 main areas where money is available to support SMEs that are working on Industry 4.0 and sensor technology application in the agri-food sector. So this might be ICT companies, sensor producers, or food companies. The main overall strategy is that with the COSME project, we set up the strategic development in the 5 regions, 5 countries of the project to support the Smart Sensors for Agri-Food platform. With S3Food, we are going a step further in the implementation and providing direct SME support towards SMEs. So the first work we had to do in Connsensys is make an inventory of what is the regional state of the art? What's the situation of the food sector, of the technology sector in different regions? And we always had a viewpoint from the food sector as a starting point. So it's demand-driven initiatives where we look at what are the challenges of the food sector. We had identified 5 different challenges, and those are challenges we were working on later on during the project. So we made an inventory, what's the state of the art in the regions. We developed an online survey in which 325 companies were participating. And it were not only food companies, we had food companies, technology providers, digital solution providers. So what are digital solution providers? Well, digital solution providers could be ICT companies, but as well data management companies, for example, consultancy. And a 4th group that participated in the online survey were Living Lab infrastructures. What is a Living Lab in particular, that I will be explaining later on. Where as well in the different region multi-stakeholder brainstorm sessions where we brought together those different stakeholder groups. Out from this state of the art and this work, we have set up with Connsensys a joint cluster partnership. And this partnership is the partnership is the agreement between the members of this Smart Sensors for Agri-Food. So we made an agreement with its annexes. First annex was a governance structure. How will we practically organize ourselves as the members of this network? Do we have a president? How to become a member? When to become a member? Second annex was clearly describing our strategy. What are the objectives of our platform? How do you want to reach those objectives? And for that, there was a 3rd annex, the implementation roadmap. How do we want to reach the goals we have set in the strategy between the partners which are undersigning the governance structure? We are 5 countries in the project. Well, today we can say that already 14 regions have signed or are in the process of signing this cluster partnership, which includes 19 regular members and 20 associated members. The idea is that regions become a member, but as I mentioned before in the beginning, we are not regions which are directly involved in the partnership. It are the clusters from that regions that are involved. So first of all, a region needs to express interest. Then you need to have clusters who want to enter. They become the regular members. And then on top of that, from each region, you can have associated members. First, you need the region to enter with a regular member. And once you have a regular member, you can have associated members. Why do you have associated members? Because you can only have 2 regular members per region. It's as well a fact that within this joint partnership, each region pays a certain fee every year to join the partnership, to do the administration, and to make it really a working, long-term sustainable structure. Now we come to the core of the work done and the core of our strategy, Living Labs. What are Living Labs? They are digital, they are infrastructures for digital innovation in the food industry, innovation-driven organizations that facilitate and foster collaborative innovation between the different stakeholders in the Industry 4.0 ecosystem to develop, improve, test, and validate digital solutions to challenges of the food sector. Very long sentence, it's better to explain it with a figure. We have a Living Lab, and a Living Lab is surrounded originally by 4 main players. At the bottom, the food chain, the most important players. We have challenges and questions in the food chain. To solve those companies before, We're working with RTOs, research and development organizations, and processing technology organizations. With the implementation of Industry 4.0, a fourth very important group came across: the digital solutions. Digital solutions could be ICT companies, modeling companies, data management companies, or sensor producers. They are the core of the Living Lab. So a Living Lab brings together those four groups in an open access, friendly atmosphere where they can innovate. Of course, this Living Lab is surrounded in a bigger ecosystem where we see big and small companies, government, policymakers, the consumer media, investors, business organizations. So the Living Lab is like the core of the digital innovation in the agri-food sector. So this is around the Living Lab, which we see on a regional level. Of course, those Living Labs, you can have 1, 2 more Living Labs on a regional level, but in every region. It's important that those Living Labs get connected with each other as well. And this is the main goal of the project we have seen, to set up this European network. The countries in blue are the countries involved in the Connsensys project. And through the project, we were able to inventorize in each region involved the Living Labs that were there. Through Agri-Food, we were lucky to increase this inventory with other regions in Europe. The main objective now is to link them to each other and to make a real European network of Living Labs that can support food companies, tech providers in developing innovations for the agri-food sector. To set up this network, we created the operational handbook, an operational handbook for setting up a network of Living Labs. The idea is that Living Labs can provide services within the region, but as well could help other Living Labs in other regions with challenges they cannot answer themselves alone. So within this European network, today we have identified 23 Living Labs, which have unique expertise and infrastructure to further help food companies. To bring them into contact with each other, during the project, we organized 5 regional study visits with demonstrations on how does the digital innovation ecosystem look like in the region, how do we work with companies, how could we improve our services, so to learn from each other. Thanks to Agri-Food project, we were able to add another number of study visits for the several regions. Third important work to do was developing this technology catalog, in which we entered the main smart sensor technologies that were applicable for the food sector. We did a multi-criteria analysis in the regions of which technologies are available, and we found 12 different technologies that were there, and we had an assessment on what is the readiness of each technology to support the challenges of the food sector. We're speaking here about 12 digital technologies. We had in the beginning the food sector challenges, and we had identified 5 main challenges. So what we did then, we made a top 3 ranking of the technologies in order to answer the challenges of the food sector. For example, for challenge 1 is dealing with food safety. Well, which is the top 3 of technologies we can use there? We have biological sensors, we have hyperspectral imaging, and we do have physiochemical sensors. And so we did for each challenge. We had a look in what are the challenges in each region, what is the technology available in the different region, and to do a mapping on where do we see interregional collaborations possible. So in the end, with this technology catalog, we had a huge database of information of technologies, of their readiness for the food sector. Again, thanks to Agri-Food, we were able to take one step further, and this is the work done in Agri-Food. We have an interactive map here, and this is showing a screenshot of the website, where you see in the different regions the available technologies. You can search on this map regarding which type of organization are you looking for, which kind of challenge are you working with, or you can just go to the other tab and go to have a look at which different technology providers are available in the different regions. If you want to have a look on this map, please go to the S3Food website. I think that my colleague Vele as well as putting a link in the chat to go there. As well as the last part of the project, we had developed 2 case studies. One case study was Living Lab centered collaboration. So interregional collaboration, how does it work? We had one challenge on food safety and quality. Then we had we went to the technology catalog. We said, okay, which technologies are dealing with food safety and quality? And then we used the tech catalog and the network of Living Lab to find some networks, to find some Living Labs that could work together. And we've set up a business case, a real business case to show how does it work to set up this interregional collaboration between each one. So case study 1 was dealing with Living Lab based or centered collaboration. The second case study was a food company and tech providers collaboration. So we had a food company in Belgium, La Confiance, which had a specific challenge on the production of cookies and the setting of the oven. Well, we found a technology producer, 2 technology companies, one in Belgium, one in the Netherlands. And again, we set up a base and a case study on how do you build a business model? How do you set up this interregional collaborations between the different stakeholders? The main KPIs of the project, well, these are just some numbers. You can see here more than 450 SMEs directly and indirectly benefited. We had more than 350 stakeholders involved, more than 90 clusters and business networks that were involved in actions. Which lessons did we learn? Well, we saw that in the different regions, there were differences between the regions, but there were similarities as well. We've seen that between regions, we've seen a lot of difference between the level of maturity, how difficult it is to mobilize companies, how the digital innovation ecosystem looks like. Some regions do have Living Labs, others didn't have Living Labs yet at the beginning of the project. But we same as well in the regions that all the regions had the same challenges. And all those challenges were SME driven. Towards the future, we know that there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and that collaboration between all the actors in the value chain is of utmost importance. And to end with the Living Lab initiatives, we should not copy structures in Europe, but we should capitalize the infrastructures we already having existing in the regions. How is it looking towards the future? Well, we had the Connsensys project, which moved with the help of S3Food a bit further to support the SMEs. And in the end, we established a long-term sustainable collaboration between all the partners, between the regions, between the food companies, the food sector, the food clusters, the technology providers, sensor providers, and the technology cluster. So in the end, our project has served to set up a solid base to have this long-term existing partnership, Smart Sensors for Agri-Food. In case you would like to make any questions towards Connsensys, S3Food, or the partnership, these are the contact details. And I'm going to finish my presentation with thanking you all for your attention. Thank you.